మత్వరవారు మా ఆదిలాబాద్ వచ్చినప్పుడు ఓ చిన్నపిల్లని తీసుకొచ్చారు. మీరు తీసుకొచ్చింది గోండ్ల పిల్లనండి.
అయితే వాళ్ళకి ఏమైనా 2 కొమ్ములు ఉంటాయా?
ఒక కాపరుంటాడు.
పులిని పట్టుకోవాలంటే వేటగాడు కావాలి. ఆ పని చేయగలిగేది ఒక్కడే సార్.
ప్రాణం కన్నా విలువైన నీ సోపతి నా సొంతం అన్నా. గర్వంతో ఈ మనలో కలిసిపోతేనే.
బ్రిటిష్ ప్రభుత్వానికి ఎదురు తిరిగిన నేరానికి నేను అరెస్ట్ చేస్తున్నాను.
తొంగి తొంగి నక్కి నక్కి కాదే, తొక్కుకుంటూ పోవాలి. ఎదురొచ్చినోడిని ఏసుకుంటూ పోవాలి.
చాలా ప్రమాదం, ప్రాణాలు పోతాయిరా. ఆనందంగా ఇచ్చేస్తాను బాబాయ్.
ఈ నక్కల వేట ఎంతసేపు? కుంభస్థలాన్ని బద్దల కొడతాం పదా.
Would you not want me to wear my hat like this?
It just looks like you have an enormous head, which I would still love you if you had, but it's just you're not wearing a hat properly.
I do have a large head.
Yeah, can you even see your face on the recording? I guess it's lower vantage point than me.
Yes.
I can't fully see your eyeballs when you turn.
It looks like I'm like trying not to make eye contact with you. Mm-hmm. Well, maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm nervous.
What's that like? If you can't see me, I can't see you.
Yeah, if like the trucker mirrors.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm nervous. I'm nervous when I'm around you, so I can't look you in the eye. But welcome to Movie Humpers. I'm Bob Shin.
I'm Angela.
We like to watch and discuss movies. Any sound you hear that's weird, snoring, probably a dog just laying around us.
Farting.
Any farting is a dog.
Yeah.
Not me. I've never done that.
They do fart a lot, though.
So for Movies Are Gay Month,
Yes.
we hit that A tier a lot.
Yeah, we did.
Like I'm having that issue again where we're not seeing like a lot of bad movies. And I've scheduled a lot of categories out forward, and I think we'll hit some averages out there. At some point I should block out a month for just movies that I think are going to suck.
Well, I don't know that you need to do that, but maybe, I don't know, you're just really good at picking movies. You tend to pick some great ones.
And they're just things we want to watch, and they end up being very good.
I feel like we're most likely to hit bad movies on our like roulette.
Yes.
Or the random generated. Or the at the movie.
But this month, we got a double category.
Mm-hmm.
The first one, which we're hitting on today in this discussion, is essentially catching up.
Yes.
On some movies that came out last year that were had a lot of buzz, be it Oscar or otherwise. And our second one is Strange Romance, which we'll get on Fridays.
Which I am so excited about.
And on Wednesdays, it will be one of both, and then we'll hit in the theaters by the end of the month. I think this month is going to be a lot of high-ranking movies here. I can just tell just from looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
We might even hit some S tiers here. I've been wanting to see this movie for a long time. Like word of mouth, this movie became very big in India. It is actually shot in the Telugu language initially.
Okay.
Which we watched the Hindi dub with English subtitles, and you noted how their mouths didn't seem to line up.
I knew we weren't on the right language.
That's because it was originally filmed in the Telugu language, which is separate from Bollywood. And apparently the Telugu, they call it Tollywood. The Telugu language is spoken in states in southern India.
Okay.
And I guess they got a film studio there and they're putting things out. And this movie just kind of like came out of, felt like nowhere. They spent $67.1 million on it, which is fucking huge.
Yeah.
For any other country to spend that much money on a movie. Only Americans really are like, yeah, a couple $100 million, that's fine.
I mean, they used every bit of that money.
And now, granted, certain things, specifically CGI,
but they did so much of it that it kind of makes sense that that's how much money they spent, even though the quality wasn't perfect. And I was kind of annoyed that they made a point at the beginning of the movie to, before it even starts, to say that no animals were harmed in this, they're all CGI. Because as soon as the movie started, you could tell they were all CGI. But it was almost like they were just saying, like, hey, just so you know, the animals are not going to look real. So just, like, get into it.
when I'm sitting here watching this movie, and let me tell you straight up, RRR, we're talking about the movie RRR by S.S. Rajamouli.
RRR by S.S. Rajamouli.
Yes. This
No
movie,
TTT in there.
this movie blew my mind a little bit.
Yeah.
It blew my balls out my pants.
Okay, I didn't
For
know that.
every, like, little flaw
Yeah.
I would see, something would happen.
That was fucking amazing.
That was bonkers.
Yes.
And this is what, we praise movies for their realism when they have that, that certain, we like documentaries as well. So when we do get like convincing realism in movies, we are satisfied with it.
Absolutely.
But movies do not have to be realistic.
No, and
That
this
is
movie...
not, often you really don't want them to be for good reason.
Yeah.
Movies should be escapism. There's a place for all of that, but we definitely want movies to have a fun escapist quality to
I
it.
feel like it's one or the other for me.
Mm.
Like, I either want it to be really serious and, like, rip my guts out, or I want it to be so
Like this.
fantastical that it doesn't matter.
Now, this was a superhero movie.
It was!
I guess we're not getting into the ratings yet. Is this the greatest superhero movie ever
I
made?
think it is. I think it is. I mean, listen, I know we're going to revisit some really great ones later in the summer with, like, the original Superman. I love the first
89 Batman, yeah.
But as far as,
Those
like,
are good.
the original Superman with, like, Christopher Reeve and the 90s Batman, like, those are, like, always going to have a place in my heart. But this movie, I was, like, cheering and jumping and so excited.
This movie
It was so beautiful and weird.
This movie is 3 hours and 6 minutes long.
I loved every second of it.
And when the
I hate long movies.
and when the movie ended, I was like, I could go for another half hour of watching British soldiers get killed.
Absolutely. I was like, now give us the next chapter. I want to see all these men in their, like, orange pants with their guns. Come on.
Are you a Rama girl or a Beam gal? Are you Rama or Beam?
Rom.
Really? He is very handsome.
I love Beam. I think he's adorable.
I'm a Beam guy. That's just me.
Is it Rama or Rom? I thought it was just
I think
Ram, because I
fine.
think it was spelled out like Ram. He had, I don't know.
Apparently, this movie is a highly fictionalized account of the director. They're based on a couple of Indian revolutionaries back in the early 20th century.
Aw.
And the Beam character was really based on a guy who was from a small village, and he was revolting more for environmental reasons at the time, because
Yeah.
I mean, this is British. This is a period piece, so it's like around 1920 when all this shit's going on.
Yeah.
And
I was not sure.
And the Rama character, I don't think he was a deep cover British policeman, but the character he's based on really was trying to disperse weapons amongst the citizens to fight back against the British.
Now, I will say, as far as like their mission and their goal, like or like the characters and their stories, Beam really got to me.
And their
But
time
Ram is the hot one.
their timelines, like they're at different points in the country. Their timelines don't really overlap. So the director just basically wondered how these historical figures would be if they were buddies,
and decided they'd be best friends.
and gave them fucking superpowers. Essentially,
I love it.
I mean, one's just really badass soldier, and the other is like connected to the wilderness and is very strong. And one is like fire, and the other one is like water. And it sounds corny as shit, and I'm not going to say it's not,
Yeah.
but it's okay.
Yeah.
It's fine.
At the beginning, when they were doing chapter introductions, which didn't last longer than like the first 45 minutes, once they came together and they could do that like fire and water, but they kind of introduced like the story and then the fire and then the water.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
fire and water came together as like imagery. And I hope you flash up like that image, because I was sort of at first like, this is dumb. But then by the time it was like fire and water together, I was like, yeah!
I think you're right. When we're starting this movie, I'm trying to figure out how I feel about it, because
Yeah.
I know movies from India, they're going to be very intense melodrama. There's going to be singing and dancing somewhere.
And there's going to be a big song at the end with like dead people come back to life, and it doesn't make any sense.
I was like, okay, I'm expecting for bombast. I'm expecting deep melodrama. You got it. So yeah, as in the first hour, I'm going back and forth, but I am pretty much locked into these characters. Like Rama, we only see him as a police officer for the British, so I'm hating his guts for the first hour.
Yeah.
And then you get in like halfway through the second hour, you're just like, you're in it. You're grossed in, like, how is this going to go? And there are some things you can definitely question, like the CGI. I, for one, admittedly, did not really care for the relative of the evil governor, the girl that Beam
I didn't like her
encounters.
either.
CGI complaints, but honestly, you could always redo this movie and clean and do better CGI if you want, especially since this movie made like a lot of money. But her character, where she's the nice white lady,
I didn't understand why Beam was so in love with her. I understood him wanting to use her to find Mala,
yeah,
because he's trying to find this little girl from his village that her aunt stole.
that's what sets Beam off from his village to go incorporate him in Delhi because his niece.
They're just all family.
They
They call each other brother and sister, but they're just all one big family.
Right.
Yeah.
And she literally got sold into servitude.
Yeah.
So it's
they
kind of
tricked her mother into taking some money.
so it bothers me, and they hit her in the head with a stick. And every
I
time
thought they killed her mom.
someone gets hit in the head with a stick, that stick explodes. Right.
Yeah. Heads are hard.
So that's kind of why I didn't like the good white girl character, because she's still related to the evil guy and still keeps the, like, at any time she could probably take this servant girl and just walk out and be like, okay, you could just go back to where you're. She could.
Well,
she has
would have
that
to
ability.
Take her
doesn't
back.
she?
She would have to find out exactly where she came from and take her back. You can't just let a child go. But also, she would have probably been in trouble if she did that.
I really wanted, and maybe this isn't the movie to do that, obviously. I kind of wanted it at the end when the screws are being put to that evil governor, and the people who the British occupiers are displayed with such dripping villainy, like they are the most evil people you've ever seen in this movie. A purely anti-colonialism, anti-imperialism movie straight across the board. But at the end, I kind of wanted the good white girl to be like, when the screws are coming and they're coming down, that she's like, look, this is my family. We're doing your country a favor. Look at your sister. She's got like such a better life here. Like, I kind of wanted that. It's kind of like a good cop, bad cop thing. And it's like, well, the best a cop could be is a personably nice person that turns a blind eye to the system that they honestly cannot overchange. Because if they go against it, they will be forced into retirement or, like, you know, in certain specific cases, even worse.
Okay, two things. I did not think that actress was the greatest.
No.
But I do think that obviously if she took this child away and took her back, she'd have to take her all the way back. She didn't know that Beam was there to get the girl. She was like trying to like buy her presents and make her feel more at home. So I feel like maybe that's all she thought she could do for the girl. But if she'd known that Beam was there to get the girl, and as soon as she did know that Beam was there to get to the girl, she told him exactly how to get to her.
Yeah,
He helped him get the girl. But he didn't tell her who he was or why he was there, because they didn't get to that point of trust yet, I guess, before the shit hit the fan. I don't know, but she didn't get the chance to like actually do anything good until the very end.
But honestly, those are my only complaints.
Yeah.
Everything else was fun as fuck.
Fun as fuck, yeah.
Rama is a secret. He's a British police, and we see him in the beginning. Like, some dude throws a rock. And so we get like this 15-minute action sequence of Rama beating back all of these protesters just to grab this one guy. And it's so over the top, like the details of the action. And I'm sitting here watching this, and I'm thinking, like, if Zack Snyder just knew how to put passion and spirit into his movies, he could make this movie, because the way the action sequences are, we've seen him do things like that, like flickers of these moments.
Yeah.
But the problem with Zack Snyder movies is that they are completely devoid of any kind of passion, any kind of humanity. They're just kind of like dry as shit, and that thinks that just this movie has the goofy posturing, but it also has the soul and the spirit.
And that's what it's based in.
Yeah.
The whole thing, once you finally learn what's happening, is that Ram is there. The only reason he does that is because he's trying to make special agent or special officer or whatever.
Yeah.
Because he wants to be in charge of gun deliveries so he can take all the guns back to his village. We don't find this out for a long time. But he is driven by the passion of wanting to like save his village and finishing the work of his father, who he saw gunned down in front of him, you know, and his mother and his brother. And he's like trying to like save his village, but also everyone. Like his goal is to, I think, first arm the village and then arm the other villages, like arm anyone who the British are trying to take over. So his goal is like really huge, and he doesn't even see himself. He's so like singularly minded until he meets Beam, because he doesn't let himself make any friends.
And they meet by rescuing a child as a bridge is exploding from an oil train.
And it's like they immediately knew the same shorthand. Like they were he would be like, and they would like know what to do with each other. I was like, I don't understand what's happening, but it was so great. It was like he could just look at him and be like, you there? And then he's like, yeah, I'm going to tie a rope around my waist and ride this motorcycle over the side of the bridge. Like, what?
Yeah, and the other guy's on a horse, and like, I mean.
And we come back to that at the end.
Yeah.
When they're on horse and motorcycle again.
Oh, yeah.
Which is so interesting, because the guy who's been with the British people for like 4 years is the one that's on the horse, and the guy from the small village is riding a motorcycle everywhere, but whatever. But also the whole thing is like, you know, Beam is there to get his family back, because they tell this story at the beginning about like, this guy tries to warn them. He comes and he's like, listen, you need to understand that where you took this little girl from, they are going to send someone to find her, and he is not going to stop until he kills all of you if he has to.
Yeah.
And they don't believe him.
Yeah.
They're like, whatever. And this is when
he's kind of like in the first John Wick, when dude's trying to explain
Oh.
that this dude is a fucking like stone cold
and
killer.
no one gets it.
And like,
Yeah,
like,
until you see
no,
it.
he's like badass. He has the power of tigers and shit.
Yeah. And so, you know, even though Ram had done this like amazing feat of beating off like hundreds of men alone,
He did beat off hundreds of men.
he did.
He didn't stop until
No.
every man was beat off.
Yep, he beat them all off. All together. It was a mess.
See, movies are always a little gay.
I'm sorry. Okay. So they only promote white men. So then there's this option where they say, okay, apparently this guy is coming and he's already in town and he's going to try to kill everybody to get this girl back. So we need, they don't say why, I don't think they say it's because of the girl. They're like, he's coming and we need someone to get him, and whoever gets him can become a special officer.
Yeah.
And so then he's like, this is my mission. He's been working for 4 years and he keeps getting passed over because he's not British. And so...
And he's doing it so he can get weapons assignments,
Yeah,
so he can redistribute the arms.
And it's the only way to do it is to become a special officer. And so he's like, I gotta catch this man. They save that boy together because the boy's like in the water surrounded by fire. Some terrible course of events happens. And then they have this like love scene. There's like, it feels like
Yeah.
bro love. I mean, they have like a montage of them hanging out together and like going around town. It's so lovely.
Friendship is just romance without the sex.
Absolutely.
Unless you're friends with benefits. But all friendships are romances, right?
Yeah.
Truly.
If you really, you love if you're really true friends, you love that person.
Yes.
And they're part of your life and your heart. Like, absolutely.
But they they only give certain amounts of personal information because they're both deep cover in their own operations.
Yeah, they're both trying to protect their mission by not sharing too much.
Rom thinks Beam's like a Muslim dude. Yeah.
Yes, because he's got some friends with him. They're all living with this Muslim family. And, he calls the woman mother, even though she's not really his mother. Like that's just how they address each other.
Yeah.
Like mother, father, brother, sister, everyone is family. And so these people have taken them in and they're connect there. And so they're like family. And he even brings Rom over to have dinner. And there's this really sweet moment where they're eating and Beam's eating with his left hand. And the mother is like, how many times do I have to tell you not to eat with your left hand? And he goes, well, it gets the food to my mouth faster or whatever.
Yeah.
And then Rom has this memory of his little brother when they were kids eating with his left hand and his mother saying, don't eat with your left hand. And him saying basically the same thing. Like, I'm just so hungry. And so you understand why they love each other so much so quickly.
Yeah, they just are bonded that way.
Absolutely. And,
but they both have their agents, their journeys, so they keep not crossing paths. We first see Rom the first hint we get of Rom being like maybe not as bad as we think he is when he's torturing this guy. Mm-hmm. And the guy like has a serpent and he like throws it on him and he attacks him and it's like this very venomous snake. So Rom is like, well, I guess this is it, I'm gonna die. So then he just lets the guy free.
Yeah, he's like, enjoy your life.
And he's like, I'm
Live your
sorry,
life.
He kind of caresses him. And he's like, go and live your life. And then Beam, who's the tribal guy that knows all the secrets to deal with that kind of shit, ends up saving Rom. And it's during this process that Rom realizes.
Well, Beam tells him everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Beam tells him the whole story. And I did love that moment because then when you understand, when you then learn the story of what actually happened to Rom when he was a kid and why he's doing what he's doing, it makes so much sense because the only reason he was torturing that man, because he doesn't disagree with what they're doing, the only reason he was torturing that man was for the greater goal.
Of all of the country.
Yeah, when he was like, oh, I'm going to die, I can't finish my mission, there is literally no reason for me to hurt this man.
Yeah.
It's not even something I want to do.
So Beam has an attack onto the governor's quarters, the palace, the set that they built that is the governor's place. And it's not just Beam and his buddies. Literally, this truck comes and crashes, and Beam comes flying out, crouching tiger, hidden dragon style.
I kept thinking of that movie.
With all of these wild animals, tigers, like horned elk and shit, and they're all like flying out like a bunch of like animals. So the animals are loose and they're attacking
people. In the middle of a big party too, so there's like everybody.
So they're attacking all these British soldiers and shit, and it is an insane scene. And like I said, the CGI not so hot, but the insane ideas that are displayed kind of compensates for you seeing the okay CGI.
Because you could not have done that at all without those being CGI animals, and that moment was glorious.
Yeah.
It was amazing. While they're preparing to go there, like getting this truck all ready and everything and sneaking in, Rom is getting better because Beam helped him, and then he truly has like a a total breakdown where he punches like 6 or 7 holes in his wall because he just realizes that like I now have to go and
He may have to kill
I'm gonna
his
have to
friend.
get my friend, if not kill him. I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to stop him. Because the thing was, if you kill him, you get a bounty. If you bring him alive, you get to be a special officer. So he had to.
And he does get beamed because a great action sequence
So good.
happens, and Ram is in a position to where he tells Beam, like, either surrender or we'll have to kill your sister.
But he's not able and never able to tell him why.
Yeah.
They don't ever get to have a conversation to explain it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he basically has to give up because they're going to kill Mala if he doesn't.
And he gets publicly tortured, but Beam won't kneel, and Ram's trying to like trip him so it looks like he's kneeling, but the governor and his wife,
His sadistic wife.
I thought she was American. Maybe she tried to be American in her accent.
Maybe.
But she's an Irish actress who was
Interesting.
apparently like was up for a James Bond movie at some point. Like she was
Okay.
like a model. But this takes place in 1920, so her facelifts and surgeries, she's the first person to ever get those. Based in
She was kind of giving like Eva Perón
yeah,
in her like style, but like a sadistic
evil.
They
are the most evil. Like she's upset that there's not enough blood. They bring out a whip with like nails and shit on it, and they're like, and Ram is like, we've had a few dance scenes here, but especially one where they show all the white colonizers how to like really get it done, which is fun. But
dancing.
Beam is like singing this song while he's being whipped with this whip of thorns, and it's inspiring the crowd until they eventually attack, and so they have to like push back on the crowd, which kind of does save Beam a little bit since an incident occurs.
So they decide like, okay, we can't kill him here in front of these people because it's crazy. We're gonna hang him tomorrow.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it's like Ram is like willing him with his eyes to be like, please trust me, I just need you to kneel. But he can't do it. And then this amazing thing happens. Like that song was beautiful. Like that moment was beautiful. And the people, you could see them it was handled so well. They like so slowly turned to be on his side. Do you know what I mean? Like their faces were so gradual. It was just so directed so well. Honestly, I think everyone did an amazing acting job in this, except maybe that one white woman. But everyone else, amazing. Then that evening, Beam is being held prisoner, and Ram is outside talking to his one confidant, who calls Uncle, who does help him and knows what he's doing. He tells him, like, I don't need to try to get these weapons anymore. I need to free Beam and take him back to the people. He can inspire everyone. He inspired these people to rise up without weapons and attack. He was like, he can do that. He has that power. I've been thinking about this incorrectly. We just need to inspire the people, which you need both. You need to inspire the people and give them guns, but we'll get there.
He does get the assignment.
He does, and then right after gets the assignment. Yeah.
But of course, he has to go to this hanging where they set Beam up to be hanged outside of the village by his suggestion.
So he can try to get him out of there.
He sabotaged the weapons. So, but the governor on the way realized there's always these things where like sudden bits of realization that kind of seems like a stretch sometimes, but the governor realizes what's going on and then tries to kill Ram. He realized Ram's going to try to set him free.
Yeah.
But the guns are sabotaged, and so Beam is rescued, but Ram is captured after he rolls and like hits a tree.
Well, Beam hits Ram in the head because
Yeah.
he doesn't know that Ram is on his side. There hasn't been time, and Ram didn't tell Mala, so Mala didn't know.
Yeah.
And it just all happened so fast that then Beam and Mala got away.
So Ram is now tortured. He's in a box, and Beam, he doesn't realize what's going on until he happens upon Ram's sister.
Sitha, it's his girlfriend. That's
Sitha,
his fiance.
right.
Yeah.
Now, and also we've gotten flashbacks of Ram and his father and how they were, his father taught him to shoot because he was a great shot, and how both of them, him and his father dies in this, but they repel an entire British force.
Did you notice that it was that same story that the same general, whatever the fuck that guy is,
Yeah.
told that made his father leave the army, because his father was in the army
Yeah.
trying to learn, I don't know, whatever. And so he had his rifle and stuff. And then that was when he saw that same man give the speech about how much a bullet is worth and how you shouldn't waste it on an Indian.
Yeah, yeah.
And he truly was like, fuck this place, I'm out of here.
Yeah, yeah.
They came to his village to get him because he was a traitor. But yeah, he and his son like killed them all. But in the process, the father, the mother, and his little brother died.
So Beam now knows what's going on. He knows Ram is like a cool dude, and he feels guilty because he was just in this to rescue his sister, and Ram's trying to rescue the whole country.
Yeah.
So now Beam is like, okay, I'm going to go rescue Ram. Ram has been tortured. His legs have been busted. And so Beam ends up finding him. He gets him out of the box. He puts Ram on his shoulders because his legs don't work.
Yeah.
And they've got guns. And folks, I ain't kidding you. When I swear to God, this might be the best action scene, one of the best action scenes I have ever seen in my life. And there's these little details, these cool little things. And this is, we got a lot of superhero movies nowadays because it took this long until into the 21st century to really hit technology to make it look cool.
Yeah.
But now that we're deep into superhero movies, they do seem to sometimes forget that, like, hey, things need to look cool. Yeah. That was the problem with The Flash. It did not, what they thought looked cool was not cool.
No.
This movie understands it's got to look cool. So they're running around. He's on his shoulders. He's like firing like rifles in each hand. He's going Florentine with the rifles.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Beam is like reloading the rifles
like,
as he's going.
reloading.
And like Ram is like swinging on a branch holding Beam, and they're flipping over the wall while they're on each other's. Just hearing it, if you haven't seen it, this sounds just completely fucking insane.
But it's
but I swear to God, it's the coolest shit you will ever see.
Once they get into the woods, there's a moment where they get to this like altar, and Beam is able to dress Ram's wounds, which so immediately he's healed, right? So he like, dresses his wounds. He like doesn't have any skin on one of his knees or something, and so that's why he couldn't walk, or I don't know. But he puts all the goop on him, bandages him all up, and then he takes this like orange sash off of the statue and like makes this
it's like a temple of this being, a very common story in India, but it's like a fable, like a religious character.
Okay, I figured.
The guy that had the bow and arrow.
Oh, yeah.
So Ram essentially embodies this infamous deity or something like that.
Yeah, so he's wearing this like orange toga outfit, and he gets this bow and arrow, and he stands up, and his hair
Yes.
and his hair grew long while he was he couldn't have been in prison longer than like maybe a week.
Yeah, they really let his hair grow out.
And this is the part. This was the moment when I was like,
You're Team Ram.
I'm Team Ram. He stood up, and he's got this bow and arrow, and he's got these orange pants, and his hair is out here, and his beard is longer, and he just is like a god. The men get there, and then two guys fight off again like 100 people.
Look, the ending, the last half hour of this movie is very simple.
Yeah.
These two dudes fucking kick colonizer ass, waxing British dudes. The sister's been rescued, I believe, at this point.
Yeah, she's with Sita now. They're all safe. Sita and the older guys that were helping him.
The weapons distributed, scumbag governor dead, India, revolution.
Yes.
And like I said before, it could have done. We watched this at 11:30 at night.
Yeah.
We didn't finish until after
2:30.
Like watching it in maybe the worst time you could try to watch a movie and stay awake.
Yeah.
The movie ended, and yeah, we're like,
jazz.
I could have seen more British forces being fucking massacred here.
Yeah.
I could have gotten more of that.
Totally.
So you're a Rom girl. I'm a Beam boy. I think that's why we're perfect together. Truly.
Yeah.
Now, RRR. If you like superhero movies and you're hearing this, you haven't watched this, it's on Netflix. If you like superhero movies, but you're like, I would never watch that. I don't know much about Bollywood or Hollywood or movies from India myself. It is kind of a blank spot. If you think you wouldn't like something like this, but you would go see a superhero movie,
You will like this.
I've heard people that don't like superhero movies are like praising this movie.
Sure.
Because it embodies the fantastical elements and the fun things that movies should be.
Yeah.
And that's why this movie gets so much praise across the board. I honestly think, like, even with the examples of the great superhero movies we know back in our childhoods, this one is kind of like cream of the crop.
It really is. It's an epic.
Yeah.
It's legendary.
Yep.
It makes you think of like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Life of Pi. Like it kind of is in that like fantastical outside of reality world that is, I don't know, it was beautiful. And yeah, they came back with Rom and 2 big trucks of guns and British is going down.
If Zack Snyder knew how to capture emotion or knew how to get good acting roles from his actors, he could do this because he is good. His CGI would be better. He can do action scenes.
There has to be a focus on the heart of it.
Yes.
There has to be an actual reason. There has to be, the bad guy cannot just be like a mound of dust. It needs to be like someone who is hurting an entire community and you have to rise up against them. Like,
What's like a Western version of this would be like maybe a super stylized, action-oriented movie about Custer getting his ass killed
sure to,
by Sitting Bull, those guys. Like, that would be a great movie to see, like, Custard getting killed
Absolutely.
by these tribes, but it should be played up fantastical,
what's the
just
Quentin
like this.
Tarantino one where they kill the white men? But
Django's a
Django
good example,
is
actually.
like maybe the closest we have in America to something like this.
And even then, this one, action-wise, is turned up to, like, 11. So look, you hunt movies, I hunt movies, all right? Mm-hmm. You give 1 through 5, I give 1 through 5, combined for best out of 10.
Yeah. I cannot decide. I think it's a... Do I give it a 4.75? I think I do. I'm going to give it a 4.75. I think it's an S quality movie.
I think
It's the best superhero movie I've ever seen. I agree with you.
We've been pretty kismet. And if it wasn't for that one role I wasn't really enthralled with,
It could have been a 5.
maybe a little tighter CGI, it could have been a 5.
Yeah.
But that's it.
Yeah.
It is a 4.75.
Yeah.
So that means RRR by SS Rajamouli, we're echoing the praise of this amazing film that embodies the fun things that an action movie should be.
Yeah.
And it is better than any superhero movie you've seen in 2 decades.
Yeah.
Swear to God.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I don't even think it's debatable.
No.
Ooh, this is up with some heavy hitters.
Rarefied air.
Rarefied air. Is it better than Night of the Hunter?
I'm going to say no.
That is hard.
I'm going to say no because of the reasons you cited.
Yes.
I'm going to say no.
Okay.
Because Night of the Hunter, I wouldn't change a single thing visually about Night of the Hunter. Those scenes of the children going up and down the river, I just want like a loop of that playing in the background of my life. It's like so calming and beautiful.
All right, Focals, check it out. Look at this. We got 7 S tier movies.
Woo, woo, woo.
Yeah, these are some fucking heavy hitters. And so far, the greatest movie of all time is Michael Mann's Thief. Still. Better than Sunset Boulevard. Better than
I still
Citizen
kind of
Kane.
disagree with that, but okay.
No, we're going to let it ride.
I know, I'm happy with
We're going
it.
to let it ride.
They're all the same, right? Eventually.
But yes,
Essentially.
RRR.
So good.
Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. It's a fucking S tier jam. All right? All right, go. Run, don't walk to your cousin's Netflix account. Get that login and behold a cinematic masterpiece.
Yes.
All right, so high praise Check the show notes for links and other places to find us.
Death to all traitors.
You colonizing scumfuck cunts. Die traitors. Die, die, die.